Should play the hot dog one just to be funny.
Just to fuck around. Just. Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. How are you all feeling? It is a great day to be back with y'all after a 2-week hiatus. We are thrilled to be back here with you all.
Hell yeah.
Roman lettuce.
Already? Roman's already in the chat.
He's already in the chat.
Hey,
He's already in it.
welcome everybody to Films in
Welcome
Black and
everybody.
White. Before we get started, you know what I mean? Before we do our casual intro, we want to let the listeners know what's happening, okay? This is Films in Black and White. And we have a very interactive chat that you can also join by joining our Patreon family. You can hop in the chat every Monday when we record. We record live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can join Roman Myers in the chat. You can be interactive with us.
Yeah.
If you hear us just talking about Roman Myers said this or somebody said that, that is us looking at the chat. So don't be confused for our only audio listeners out there. We also have a visual journey for you two as well. And welcome back.
Absolutely vision. Yeah, it is a great day to be with y'all. We're so excited to be back. We all have some report outs that we have to get to. We have to say what we've been up to over these past 2 weeks. We got to talk about the world and just what's changed, if anything has changed. I'm not sure if it has.
You didn't hear?
But that's what we got, everybody, and I'm excited about it. So, but in order to do it well and in order to do it right, I am going to kick it on up to Brian Roush, aka Mr. Autumn. Brian, how you feeling, sir?
Hey, folks, I'm feeling great to be back here. I'm also feeling absolutely just reflective and happy that we're in autumn. As a hot temperatured person, this is one of my favorite times of year because I just spent 4 months being hot all the time. I was in my house and I was hot. I was outside and I was hot. I took a swim and that was okay, but then I was hot again. So like I was
all
just
the time.
Constantly
Can't run from it.
Hot. And
Can't hide from it.
Now it's that time of year where you can just you can go outside and you don't have to worry about that trickle of sweat going down your back. And
The heat arrives the same.
That's true. It doesn't run.
You know, and it
run
just
from it.
fills me with
Can't
joy.
hide from it.
What does that bring you? Right back to me.
Right back to the heat, everybody.
Right back to me.
We got on our Thanos bullshit.
Sorry,
Brian,
all right.
I am
That's all right.
I too am excited for the cooler temperatures. I had to shut my the faucets outside off because we were in a freeze warning. So
Were you really?
yeah. On Friday,
Saturday, right?
Yeah, Friday
Friday
night
yeah.
we were in a freeze warning. So I get it. I get it, Brian.
It's just a
and I'm
dramatic
thrilled.
switch. That's the thing, right? It was like it was hot. Roman Myers says some would
thanks
say
for
you're
that.
always hot.
shucks.
Okay.
Shucks,
Okay.
Roman.
Always remember, everybody, those that
You.
are not necessarily the Roman Myers, but for those that are listening, flirting is not consent. Always keep that in mind. You know what I mean? Anyway, it was just a dramatic switch. Like it turned on its head. It went from hot as shit one day to like literally the next day it was like a cold breeze, and I was like, oh, I might need a jacket, but like, I don't know.
Chilly.
Yeah, we went from asking questions of like, oh man, are the kids gonna be too hot to, oh god, are they gonna be warm enough? Like just like in a matter of moments.
Instantly.
So
Yes.
I'm with you, Brian.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's good. I'm happy it's autumn. Happy, like it feels good.
I'm so glad.
My
for that.
utility
I'm
bill
so
can
glad
come
for you.
down.
Oh yeah, 100%, because I can stop running the AC basically all the time.
Oh my gosh, all the time.
Yep. Marcus J. Destin, aka Podcasting Blue Balls. How are you feeling, sir?
Stopped up and ready to pod. You know what I mean? I feel good, man. It's good to be back with the guys. It felt weird being off for 2 weeks, but also it felt good being off for 2 weeks. Like trying to get into that state of mind of like not feeling bad for taking time off from the things that you love to do, right?
Yeah.
But you know, it felt weird, but I realized how much of a safe space this is. It's weird because I was doing my best to take a break from the chat itself so that I was like,
Sure.
felt like I could, step away completely so that when we came back, came back full speed ahead. You know what I mean? And also kind of want to give the guys a break too, because it's like, you don't want to leave them hanging, but also if we are all trying to do different things, I don't want nobody to feel obligated to reply to my bullshit that I'm sitting in the chat. You know what I mean?
No,
but
I
I also love hearing from y'all in the chat. So I was good either way. So
yeah.
Just felt good, ready to be back. We had a busy week. It was homecoming at the University of South Dakota. Dakota Days has come and went, and we are on to the next thing. But I'm here, ready to pod, y'all.
Yeah. How was it? How was the last week? I know for you, you are on now the other side of it, like being fully in it and immersed in it. How did it go for you?
Also, Doug is alive and well, everybody. The post that I made Doug seem like he was dead.
It's the funniest. If you read the first sentence, it's so funny. Like, it's Doug Wagner was my advisor when I was a student. It was like, did fucking Doug die? Like, what happened?
It wasn't until somebody pointed out, was like, hey, you was making me nervous with that first line that I read about Doug. And I was like, what does that mean? And I read it. I was like, oh, shit.
No, you used proper verb tense.
Like, yes, I did too.
Because,
you did.
Like, it'd be different if you were like, Doug will always be remembered as like that's leading up to something different.
You know what it is, Brian? This is the new era of social media, and I absolutely understand how I fucked up. It is because all sentimental posts start with the name and or memory of said person that has passed, and not,
that's a good point.
Hey, you have lived a good life. You say that for the obituary, and when you at the funeral.
Grandpa Dennis always made me feel like I could say anything when we were riding in the truck. That's how that starts.
That's how you know that you're starting here and it's going nothing but downhill from
grab
there.
The tissues because it's gonna be a crier.
But it was good. It was like, now that I'm a week out, this was the first time I was fully immersed in it, fully like, when I started as a student, Doug was my advisor and my mentor at the same time. Oh, thanks, Roman Myers. I appreciate you. Roman said, it looks like you killed it for Dakota Days. Never a solo effort, always a team thing. So I never could do anything by myself, but it was a good time. I inherited this kind of unexpectedly, but it was a good time to see my students just kind of thrive. Not kind of, they just thrived. It was cohesive. Everything that they planned, they absolutely executed to the highest level. It was a perfect week from beginning to end. And it wasn't necessarily like, it didn't like fall on the shoulders of one thing in particular. Like Doug will know.
Yeah.
Our Dakota Days week typically falls on the shoulders of if the football team is doing good or bad. Now, our football team,
for the vibe on campus,
right?
If they're not doing well, everything's a little bit muted, and they were doing just fine.
They came off of an NDSU win going into this Saturday with a team that they were supposed to beat with Murray State. Luckily, they not only beat them but blew them out. But before we even got to the game, the spirits were high for the students just in general, and so. It was a really good time. It was a really good week. I'm very thankful, very appreciative to be a part of that.
And for those of you who are not deeply immersed in the status of Missouri Valley Football Conference, NDSU has made it to the FBS championship game the last 5 years. So
not only did we beat them, but we blew them out.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't. I mean, it was still a little close, but it was just either way, a win's a win. And you went into their house on their homecoming, and you put your dick on the table, and we're like, "What are we doing today?" That's what happened.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
So, energies was high. I'm ready, but I'm also ready to get back to like more of my job type of things. I realize I love programming. Yeah. Hey, I love programming. I feel like I'm good at programming, but also I can't balance two things at once. But Doug Wagner with the crazy straw coming out of what I assume is an old fashioned. Is it an old fashioned?
This is a Mai Tai.
Oh,
so
wow.
Because,
did you leave Hawaii? Did you ever leave?
Are you still there? Actually,
mentally, no. Physically, yes.
Tell us about your trip, Doug.
I would love
just
to.
dive in.
The electric boogaloo.
Jesus fucking Christ. So Brittany and I on the 26th of September flew from Sioux Falls, South Dakota to the island of Kauai, which is one of the Hawaiian islands. It is the oldest Hawaiian island. It's the most furthest west and
Hey,
the
spit them
most
facts.
furthest north. And we spent a week there with Brittany's sister and her sister's husband, so my brother and sister-in-law,
Nice.
just kind of getting after it and exploring it and being without our children because, spoiler alert, they were here by themselves with sharpened sticks,
Yes.
hoping they could kill something outside.
Yes.
No, I
no
joke.
food.
Nope, nothing. We said if you can't make it,
Yeah.
it's on you.
Love
No. In all honesty, we
That
had a
cat down
great
the
try.
street was fucked.
Several cats. We have a whole package of. We have a whole box of collars. That we don't know who they belong to.
How much are these kids eating? I have different questions.
They eat a lot. But no, in all honesty, we had a great tribe of people. Claire, family friend,
Shout out to
watched
Claire.
the kids for a majority of time. My parents came down and watched them for a little while. So we had a great group of people who came and helped us out and allowed us to take it, and really, truly could not have done it without them. So, but it was outstanding. So the weather was beautiful. It was like 85 and sunny the entirety of the time that we were there. Got to do some really cool stuff. Spent a lot of time out on the ocean, which was really, really cool. There was a 7-hour boat cruise and snorkel tour that we toured that was
beautiful.
really, really cool and that we did. And really, for me, I kind of learned something about myself through this trip, which is that I really enjoy planning vacations.
Oh.
Like, it's just, I enjoy
We
like,
knew that.
I
Okay.
enjoy like the organizing. I enjoy the like, where are we gonna do? What are we gonna have? What's the plan? What's the itinerary?
Okay.
How can I get the best deal? Like, I know far more about going to Kauai than I should, and it's because I basically like my OCD kicked in, and I said like, oh, I'm taking a trip. I need to learn everything about this island. So I spent a lot of time learning a lot about it. So if anybody's listening and wants to take a trip, just give me a call. I'm happy to help you plan it because it was a lot of fun for me to do. Some highlights in addition to the snorkel cruise was I developed an affinity for Mai Tais, which is exciting.
Excellent. I'm happy for you.
Y'all can't see this in the audio journey, so that's why you need to come watch us live or watch us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Doug has a straw that is a swirly, crazy straw and a little cup of Mai Tai that he is sipping from.
Yes. It's because the Mai Tais that they make there, that they kind of showed us how to make, is that it's like juice and Mai Tai mix, and then they basically pour the rum on top of it, so it like sits separated. And so I tried to take a sip of it without the straw, and I went, no, like, it's just like, immediately no.
Good.
And so we did
Let the
that.
professionals do.
Just like, oh God, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So then I grabbed the only straw that was in our little straw container, which is a crazy straw. I'm gonna have to watch this bitch before my kids drink out of it, or otherwise they are going to be in trouble. Like, is what's going to happen. So
Getting the kids fending for themselves, eating cats and drinking Mai Tais is just.
I know. I was gonna say
we run a pretty tight ship over here.
There's some beast.
But the only downside to this trip is, and when we get to like what we read, what we watched, what we did, is we flew Sioux Falls to Denver to Lahui, which is the airport in the city that we flew to. It's a 7-hour flight. And so there and a 7-hour flight back. So I got to watch 2 movies on the way there.
Excellent.
And then I got to catch up on Ahsoka on the way back.
Oh, that's exciting.
All you had to do was just watch Zack Snyder's Justice League twice.
That would have done it. It was not available.
Brian, don't do this.
You could have done that.
Don't do this.
I got to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once on the way there, and that was a goddamn masterpiece. That movie, Genuine Review, was fucking phenomenal.
Genuine Review. Very good.
It was very good. It's also very interesting, like, watching it on a plane, because I had to, like, turn around and be like, can they see the shit that I'm like...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they absolutely
When she's using the dildo nunchucks, I was like, oh, well, that's fun. Can you see that? There's
There's 2 people on the planes when it comes to watching shit. There's people that just do look around and look over their shoulders. Then there's the other person who just gives no fucks, and they are
And just
watching the most
go for
gruesome
it.
documentary movie
Yep.
or whatever the hell it is. Like
Yep.
somebody was watching Cranked on the airplane one
Oh
time
my
outside,
God.
and it was the scene where he was like having sex with her
Yep.
in the, like right in the
I
middle
know
of the.
exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I was like, man, I didn't even think they showed this kind of movie on the damn plane.
The man in front of me watched
Oh.
a majority of Dune, which I kind of peeked over and I was like, oh, cool, I know that part. So he
Yeah.
watched like a majority of Dune, and then he switched to this movie about two French women from the 1800s who like to paint each other. And
What?
it was
See, that's
not
what I'm
like
talking about.
my
That's
brain was, I was like, what are
wow.
you doing over me behind the seat? Like, what is going on here?
Talk to me about your journey
Not
and
me,
how
not me, y'all.
how
Was
Like,
did
this
your
on the
life
screen?
arrive at this point?
Yeah,
right.
was this on the screen before?
Because his
above,
wife
like, in
was
front of
sitting
you?
like right next to them, and I think they were watching it together. It must have
Yeah.
been one of those like hoity-toity French movies that they're like, it's art.
Hoity-toity.
Like, I was like, I don't know, that art
It's art,
charges
and we don't
$10.
shave. We don't shave our armpits, and it's
Yeah,
art.
that's $10 a month art on some websites. So like, let's just calm down. Um,
Let's keep going. Just keep
right,
going.
so yeah, power through. But anyway, outstanding trip. It was really, really great. It was 5 hours behind me timeline wise.
Yeah.
So like, I'm really glad we took a break from the chat, because if y'all had texted me at like 10 o'clock in the morning, that would have been 5 o'clock there, and so it just would have been all over the place.
But Doug, you needed to know how I felt about like whatever show I was watching.
I
at
loved
that
all of that,
exact
by the way.
moment.
I
At
loved
10
all of
a.m.
that. Because when you don't have time to respond to the chat, I appreciated Brian and then Doug when he got back, like started sending more stuff, and then we eventually like started sending each other more stuff like we usually do.
Yeah.
I always appreciate it because when I do have time to like sit down or lay down before whatever happens, like then I'm like, okay, let me go back through the chat and actually read through what I missed. You know what I mean? So I did appreciate Brian giving us like a update on whatever the fuck he was watching at the time.
Yeah, for sure. So in all, great trip, had a lot of fun, got some sunburn, enjoyed the beach, enjoyed the water, but it was a great trip. Ate some outstanding food. I had like fresh fish that was caught that like morning for dinner, and it was simply incredible. So
tastes different than the tilapia at Walmart.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's just a smidgen. So I'm excited. We were already talking about like, at what age could we bring our kids? Because that's the other thing that kind of did get me thinking, is that when they're not there all the time, all jokes aside, like when they're not there all the time, you do start to like, you do miss them. Like I absolutely missed seeing them.
Oh yeah.
But you also start to think about like that would be something Harrison would enjoy, or that would be something Harper would like to do. And so you start thinking like you're able to actually take a moment and process and think, instead of like you're hungry, here's a snack. Like it's like you just like you can process and move through it a little bit more and be a little bit more intentional, which I really liked. So it was a good trip.
And I feel like when you're, I don't know, at least in my parenting journey, it's always been like you're trying to get these kids down to bed and you just want to land this plane and just like sit down, and then like 20 minutes, not even like a trip for me, but like 20 minutes, you're like, I'm going to look at some pictures of them. I saw them 20 minutes ago. They wouldn't go to bed. I was super frustrated about it. But then here I am on my phone like, well, these kids are cute. So like, I get it. Like you just can't turn your brain off like that. I totally get it, Doug.
Yeah.
What was the adjustment when you got back, for the kids? Like obviously that's kids strands of time maybe is a little bit different than our strands of time, right?
No, that's a great question.
They see you, and then what?
They did really well. So we tried to FaceTime them every so often, maybe not every day, but like every so often when we could, we tried to. And for the most part, for at least the first 5 days, we didn't get a lot of like, where are you? When are you coming home? So maybe one or two of like, are you coming home soon? But it wasn't like ever something that too, because here's the risk when you travel without them, it devolves into tears, and it's I didn't mean to make you upset, like type of deal. So when we landed in Sioux Falls at 12:15 on Wednesday last week, and so we drove down, and we actually just picked them up from school, so we didn't send them to daycare. So just when the school day was over, we just picked them up, and they were elated, like reunion scene type of setup of like running and big hugs, and so they were very, very excited. Harrison also gave us very specific homework for when we were there. The homework was this. So he has this is a long story. I'm going to try and shorten. So someone for Christmas gave him like a learning globe where you touch a stylus to the part of the globe and it'll tell you the capital of the country or the flag or the animal from that area. Well, one day he puts the stylus on Hawaii and it starts talking about this like endangered Hawaiian monk seal that there's only like 1,000 of them left or whatever. And so Harrison says like, Dad, Mom, you have to take a picture of this. I need to see it. Wow. And on the first day, like our first morning, the four of us were up at like 5:30 because we thought it was 10 o'clock. So we grabbed our coffee and we walked down to the beach. And what do we see coming up out of the water and onto the sand? A Hawaiian monk seal that we were able to take a picture of and like then show him when we got back and mined for him. Just blown.
That's incredible.
That makes
That's
my
incredible.
Heart happy.
Yeah.
That's
so
wonderful.
he was just we were able. It was just perfect. Like it just went really, really well. So yeah. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
That's great.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, anything
great
that you
catching
all...
up with y'all.
Yeah, it was great. Let's sign it off. Yes, Roman. There are only 1,570 Hawaiian monk seals left. They are critically endangered. Yes.
Wow. And that one popped up right when you needed it the most. Huh?
It just showed right up.
Yep. Like and the thing is that like they have super strict rules about they have super strict rules about seals and sea turtles. So you can't get within 15 feet of a sea turtle. No, 10 feet of a sea turtle and 15 feet of a seal. So when this thing's like doing its like wobble up onto the beach, you have to like back up like really, really quick because you don't know where this fucker's gonna go.
Excuse me.
Like, I'm sorry. And then like sea turtles, they will just at like 8 o'clock, at like 6 o'clock, they start like throwing themselves up on the beach. And if you don't see it, you're like, oh shit, I gotta get out of the way. So like one of the nights,
restraining order.
Right.
You make it sound like the turtles are going to arrest you.
Yeah, like, hey,
I didn't do nothing.
Put your hands in the air.
Yeah, like, it sprinkles some crack on me and been like, yeah, get him. Like that's how it works. I'm gonna have to go to turtle jail. I'm gonna have to go to turtle jail because of something I didn't do.
Turtle jail is terrible.
But on like I think it was like either like Friday night or Saturday night.
Hell in a shell cell.
Well done. I'm just proud of you. I'm proud of you. That was good.
No, that was well inspired.
I'm really proud of you. Thank you. Give yourself a round of applause. But Friday night, so my brother-in-law and I are swimming in the ocean, like snorkeling on a beach. And like I turn around and here's one of these fucking sea turtles like just swimming, and I'm like, oh, like where do I go? Wow. This is your world. Like I'm just in it for a minute. Like what are we doing? So I had to like back up, and so I'm excited to see my brother-in-law. He had a GoPro and he was able to capture some footage. So like I'm really excited to see that. So but yeah, man, it was wild.
I'm so glad you and Brittany got a chance to go away.
Yeah,
you do need those moments to just take a break, and especially when it comes to being in South Dakota, you got to leave a little bit just to kind of come back. And then there's an appreciation for traveling when you live in South Dakota. When I go back home to like Houston, or I go back home to Virginia or whatever, or North Carolina, like then I come back, I appreciate the peace and the slow downness of Vermilion sometimes.
Let me ask you a question though. Like, are there ever days like when you get back?
Yes.
When does that set in and the, I don't have to live here wear off?
Ooh, listen, it takes a while.
It does, doesn't it?
It takes a while. It's a couple months, actually. I'm not going to bullshit you.
I got back and I said to Brittany, like on Friday, I was like, we don't have to fucking live here. Like I can work from anywhere. And she was like, no, like we're not doing this. Like we're
That's
like
now imagine being single with no ties to anything and coming back and
Yeah.
being like, I don't really have to. I choose to be here. I don't have to be here.
It also doesn't help that in our neighborhood, 4 college boys bought the house behind us.
No.
And like they just live there now. And they're freshmen, so we got that for the next 4 years. So now I get to do. Imagine you're a college dude, and you are trying to just throw the football around, and you walk out on a Saturday morning at 11 a.m. to this. What are y'all doing back there?
He's making a grumpy old man face for those that are listening.
Yeah.
What are you doing back there?
He's got his mug up, everyone. He is in mug mode.
Anything stupid? Like, and of course it's Dakota days, so I'm like, oh, these fucking guys. Yeah. Like, but anyway, they have been fine. I have not talked to them.
Oh,
they have been fine otherwise. And so yeah, that's so I had that. It's starting to wear off. Where I'm like, no, okay, this is fine. But like it was there for a hot second where I was like, maybe we gotta go somewhere.
Oh, hey, bask in it. It'll make you either appreciate this place or start looking on Zillow.
I mean, maybe just ask to be invited to the parties so you know when the big parties are happening, and then you can be like, all right, we're going out tonight, or we're I don't know, putting on a fan.
Cool. I can lay down some beer pong, man.
I wasn't saying you should go. It was more of just like so you knew when the parties were happening. But if you want to go, I mean,
can I bring my crazy? Hey,
boy, you and Brittany can tear it up.
Can I bring my crazy straw?
All right, let's move on.
10 p.m. and they're starting. You're like, well, I gotta go to bed.
Brian and Doug were on 2 completely different pages.
Yep, and
I probably know where the party is. Yeah, I'm going right.
And I probably shouldn't reach out with, "Hey, boys." Yeah, it makes me sound like
that's gonna send you right to jail.
Like an odd man.
Yeah. Those turtles are gonna come and fly to Vermilion.
They're gonna be like, "Get this fucker out of here."
Yeah, you in a Zac Efron, Seth Rogen situation, you're definitely the Seth Rogen here, according to Roman.
I am, unfortunately, aren't I?
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. Gentlemen, we have a whole episode to get to.
Oh my god,
we have a whole episode. It's so great to be back. But before we get into the rest of our episode, we have to play Catch That Quotable.
We gotta play, man.
Yeah,
I'm ready to catch it. I haven't caught it in 2 weeks.
Roman.
Quotable.
Silky sounds of Marcus J. Roman sent this shit like 2 weeks ago, so we got to make sure. Roman is, he's got one for us. So,
okay,
are you all ready for this week's quote?
That's a fact, Jack.
Hit me.
Hit me.
All right, here we go. Disappointment's going to be a big part of his life. He's a foot short for his age, and he's cross-eyed.
Oh god.
Disappointment's going to be a big part of his life. He's a foot short for his age, and he's cross-eyed.
Okay. All right.
Man, right now it feels like Waterboy, but I don't think that's what it is. It just feels like it.
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah, it's a sport movie, but maybe it's I'm thinking like Napoleon Dynamite, maybe like one of those one-off sports scenes and not a sport movie, something like that.
Okay,
that's kind of where my head is at.
I'm getting like Mike Myers a little bit, so I'm getting like So I Married an Axe Murderer a little bit.
Damn. Huh. Where in that are you getting that?
Yeah,
is that the Mata talking?
No, it might be. Does she see? Doesn't she go over to his house and see his whole family? And there's like Mike Myers plays like a Scottish like family member who's very aggressive.
Oh,
or am I misthinking about that of a different movie?
You said Mike Myers. I thought Michael Myers, and I was like, how the hell did you jump to a horror movie? So that's why I was confused.
Sure did not.
I haven't seen Axe Murderer.
I have not seen that movie either.
Okay. So, well, it's also not a sports movie. So
great.
According to Roman,
and that's our time. Great.
And that's time.
Great.
And that's time.
Hey, good to know that we have not missed a step.
We have not.
We're the same here.
If anybody expected us to come back polished,
you
knew what this was.
That's not what the 2-week break was for. We're not practicing on vacation.
No. We rested. We rested.
All of a sudden on the plane with flashcards, Brittany with random movie quotes like, "Which one is this?" Like, I don't know.
He's gonna be waiting for it. See, Roman's gonna be waiting for it. Roman said
right.
it is not a sports movie. Do we want to hint or do we want to just go with what our guesses were?
I say go for it.
Let's just go for it.
I think let's go for it. Fuck it. Yeah, let's
go for it.
I'm gonna
go. So I married an axe murderer. That's mine.
I'm gonna go with Napoleon Dynamite.
All right.
I'm gonna go Waterboy. Just go right into this brick wall.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. Don't slow down.
Whole lot of fuck it. We took 2 weeks to slow down. Now we full speed ahead.
Yeah, we're going straight through that brick wall. That's what we're gonna do.
Okay. Well,
look. How bad is it?
This is from the 1993 movie
Oh no,
Dennis the Menace, said by George Wilson, who was played by Walter Matthau.
I saw this movie.
Okay. I rented this movie several times.
Is that the one where he replaces his teeth with chiclets?
Yes.
That's the first one, right? Yeah, okay. I've seen that a couple times, but never like intentionally watched it. I've always caught it when it was on.
The ending of Dennis the Menace is one of the weirdest like children's movie endings I think I've ever experienced, because like half the movie is just like it's this little kid messing with an old guy and you're like, well, this is kind of fun. And then like the third act's like, anyway, this hobo kidnaps a child and you're like, what?
That's the 90s for you.
Yes. Christopher Lloyd plays a character named Switchblade Sam.
Wow.
Whose whole arc in the movie is he comes rolling into town, lives under a bridge, and then kidnaps Dennis the Menace.
Amazing.
Who Walter Matthau goes and saves later. Like, that is the whole arc of this whole thing.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad I didn't have like an isolated fever dream that it was just me. All right, good.
Yeah. And you're right, Marcus. Movies in the 90s did not want us to trust homeless people.
No, not at all.
It was not interested.
It was like terrorists, homeless people. They put them right in the same.
Basically.
I don't know how the fuck they did it.
Terrorists moved into the #1 spot after 2001 for obvious reasons. But I do feel like the 90s, it was like they were in the top 10, but it was always like a second or third string generic villain.
Yes.
They were competing with Russians, but like Russians were like, that's done. Like we're
Russians were on their way out. Terrorists were on the rise.
Homeless people on the rise. I feel like if you watch Smart Money on CNBC with Jim Crane, if he did this, he'd be like, homeless people on the rise
now on homeless people.
They're bad. Obviously they're not, but a lot of 90s movies villainized them, and I don't know
hilarious.
Why.
Like, by now.
It's the ambiguous, but now like for the international villain, right? Yeah. It's like this ambiguous accent where you can't really tell where they're from. Like, it's not a specific country.
It's kind of Eastern European, but it's distinctly not. But it's also like it's not Russian.
Like halfway Arnold Schwarzenegger, but like not fully Australian. But it's also like halfway Russian, like 25%.
All on a man who looks like he's a Asian Pacific Islander, from there. But then the like very white people are talking with an Asian Pacific Islander accent for some random brief. Like you can't place anybody.
You can't place it.
No, and they don't want you to.
No, they drew a box on a map, and they basically were like, all right, here's Ukraine. Let's go all the way down to Turkey. Let's go over, and then just kind of do a little like circle around.
100. That is
all they did.
Yeah. When all the movie people get together at the beginning of the year when they make their movies, they have to designate the villain or like the villain,
and that was it.
Yeah, absolutely,
and that was it.
Absolutely.
So, and they were like, well, they'll figure it out.
And,
I mean, or we won't.
Or maybe we won't. I mean, I just watched Lioness on Paramount.
Yeah, how was that? Let's go right into reading and watching.
Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, so this is a genuine review here. I like my interest was piqued when this show was advertised to me because I don't watch a lot on Paramount Plus. So I was like, all right, I'd commit to this. So it's Zoe Saldana. We got Nicole Kidman, Morgan Freeman. There are some heavy hitters in here. It's created by Taylor Sheridan, and if you're not familiar with him, he's done Wind River, Sicario, and Hell or High Water. So kind of these like gritty, I'd say like kind of like gritty modern westerns almost, but like they're very much interrogating a lot of United States like ideologies. And so I was like, I could do that with like a Spec Ops show. Like if we're gonna do like SEAL Team 6 or whatever, but like, is it really a good thing? I'll get into this show. And so it's only 8 episodes, which was also great for me in my life, because I just if you're giving me 13 episodes, I'm not. It better be a good reason. I'm looking at you, Daredevil.
13 is
Like Daredevil, you better make this pop. All right.
funny as hell.
Work.
13 is too long. Is that what you're saying?
Better get out there and work it, bitch. Like,
I'm saying 13. Like you better know what you're doing. Okay. Because
Brian
like,
turned into the pimp from Hell's Kitchen. You better get out there and turn that corner.
You better get out. You better get out there and get daddy his money. That's what Brian wants.
I just honestly like, and we've talked about this before, but I'm just so over like the 26 episode, the 13 episode standard format to like make sure we have enough time to sell soap on network TV. Like, no, just tell your story. I don't need all these filler episodes. Iron Fist. And like we can move on with our life. And
mickety mac, daddy. Mickety mac.
So it's only 8 episodes, and they do a whole lot. And the first like 3-ish episodes, I was nervous because it was very much just like rah USA go, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be into this. Like, this is not my vibe. And then like, there's some stuff. I'm not going to do any spoilers here, but there's some stuff that happens in the 4th episode where they actually start interrogating, like, hey, maybe this is bad, and like we shouldn't do this. And like some people get in trouble for things that they have done and are held accountable, which is. You don't always see that in these types of shows, because I feel like when you look at shows like Law and Order or like when you look, like FBI or whatever, NCIS, they're like, I'm going to break the rules because I got to catch the bad guy. And this show distinctly is like, no, you broke the rules and that's bad. Feel bad about that. And Zoe Saldana sells it. Like she just sells it so well. And I really want to keep seeing her and stuff. Like, I don't know if she'll get an Emmy nod for this, but I feel like there's enough there for her to be considered. I don't know if she would win, but I would love to see her in more things. I think she's just super talented. So but yeah, there's some good action. There's some good espionage. The main premise here is that there is a group within the CIA that's called basically the Lioness Unit. And what they do is they train female operatives to get close to other females that are close to targets they're after. So basically, they're just picking out women in the armed forces, and they're like, okay, go get close to the target. And so they're blending in and also gathering intel. And the show does a really good job kind of being like, what kind of toll does this take on a person? Because it's incredibly emotionally intensive work. And Zoe Saldana does a really good job being like this really hard-lined, I'm going to say agent. She's not a soldier. She's an agent, but then also like showing that emotion. And it doesn't feel like, oh, it's too much. She can't do it. She can't be a mom and an agent. It's not said in that tone. It's just more like she's made some choices and she might have a difficult time accepting them. And I think it's done in a really good format. So anyway, that's going to be my quick Roush review on Lioness. I really enjoyed it. I hope they do a second season and they keep interrogating a lot of this stuff. If you liked any of the movies I listed that Taylor Sheridan has created, you will enjoy this show.
Awesome. That's good to know. Thanks for doing that, Brian. That doesn't sound like something I'd watch. To go back to your, like, I wouldn't watch normally unless someone would have recommended it.
Yeah.
I will say, to your point about episodes being long, I think that or seasons being long.
Yes.
I have now so associated like 20 plus episodes with like adult animation that I don't think that they can put that genie back in the bottle. Like if you're going to say like, oh man, this is 15 to 18 episodes long. I'm like, oh, so you're talking about like South Park, right? Or like Family Guy. Right. If you're telling me that you have a drama that is 18 episodes long, I'm gonna be like, get the fuck out of here. Like I just like my tolerance has just completely changed.
Yes.
I was going to tweet this earlier. Because I was trying to figure it out. I've been in a headspace where
you were going to exit?
I mean, no, I was going to tweet it earlier. Fuck you. Not you, but Elon.
Elon.
So
me.
Kind of where I was. There's been a lot of back and forth with this Drake album and Joe Budden, and there's been a lot
Oh,
of
oh
drama
my
that has come about it, right?
gosh.
And so Drake dropped an album for all the dogs on October the 6th, right?
That's the
This
name
is
of the
not about
album.
that.
He's not talking about everybody who might be
No,
listening.
yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah. Thank you for that clarification.
For all the dogs.
For all the woof woof. So what? Okay, I'm not really here to talk about the album.
Okay.
I want to go to the point of when y'all talk about when something says 18 episodes, 15 episodes. One, I want to ask y'all, what is a good amount based off the genre that you're watching? So give me your top 3 favorite genres. It can be animation, it could be a it could be a live action series. Just give me some variety, and I want you to give me like an estimate and give me like the type of content or like the who's delivering it. So if it's an MCU project, can you do more? Or if it's something, if it's a DC thing, do you want less? Think about that while I say this next part. I feel like movies, TV, and music is what it's always been. And we've talked about this for a couple seasons now of this podcast, but the field is oversaturated, right?
Well, yeah.
But what I also realized is the title that you give something matters to how people consume it and how they react to it.
Yes.
So because Drake called this an album, it is not being reacted to the best. But if he would have called this a mixtape or something, it maybe the reaction would have been differently, because now it feels like, oh, you invested all this time into an album, as opposed to it's a mixtape and I'm not taking it as serious in your discography. People consume it differently, although it's being uploaded to the same like DSPs, you know what I mean? And I think the same thing with the MCU of it's like when you label something a short series
Good
and
point.
it is
limited project,
a limited series and it's 10 episodes and you say it's just a limited series, a one-time deal, people are more likely to be like, hell yeah. But if you labeled it a series with 10 episodes in it, or maybe 11 episodes in it, without the short series or limited series, then people kind of cringe at that more. And like even with watching a Haunted Mansion, if you put the Haunted Mansion on a streaming like service, I'm like, oh, that was really easy for me to consume. I watched it while I was typing up emails, scheduled some emails to go out in the morning. If you would have told me I had to go to the theater to go and sit and watch that, I probably would not have enjoyed it as much. Like, does that make sense?
No, it does.
Everywhere.
It was everywhere. Granted, the writer strike did fuck up a lot of it, in the best ways possible, right? It had to, but a lot of movies did hurt because of the writer and the actor strike, like the WGA strike, like clear as day. But I just kind of like want to see what y'all thoughts are on that.
I think for me, I think if I'm watching a dramatic series, 45 minutes to an hour an episode, I think that I am probably going to be somewhere around that 8-9 mark before I really start to struggle to keep up. Like, especially if it's really like heavy. Like if it's really heavy, it's going to be tough for me to keep up. I think if you're going to take a little bit more of a comedic tone and you're somewhere between that 30 and 40 minute mark, maybe 53 is your season finale, a Only Murders in the Building, if you will, I could see that letting that go to like 12, maybe 13 episodes. I really like this idea of even number, like an odd number of episodes, because letting that last one, that 9, that 13, that 11 being the season finale, like, and so that way you get an even number of episodes to like, I don't know why it's weird, but like,
I get it.
That's kind of what I'm feeling. I'd say if you are a sitcom-esque comedy, you're 25 to 29 minute episode. I'd see you getting to like 18, 19, but I shouldn't have to expect to watch those in sequential order.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're expecting me to watch something in sequential order to be able to keep track of what's going on, and you want to push the length or you want it to be there, you keep that shit at like 9 to 11 episodes, or otherwise I'm going to become disinterested.
Yeah. Brian?
Or feel like it's work to keep up. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, no, you're good. I think that I feel like the landscape has just changed so much. Like when I'm looking at a drama series, I will give you 13. that doesn't mean that like I think you're gonna nail it, because and sometimes like episodes 12 and 13 are like a 2-part finale.
Right.
And I feel like in times like that, I'm like, you're just trying to fill out 13 episodes, because I feel like a lot of times I feel super satisfied with 10 episodes. And I feel like it's one of the reasons I enjoy The Witcher so much, because I think it's like 6 or 8 episode seasons. Like, some of them are 6 episode seasons. I'm
hour and a half.
No, they're mostly an hour, but like they're chunkers, like they're 55 minutes, and some of it's super dense. Some of it's not. Some of it's a lady wandering a desert having visions, which is, that if that's your thing, that's great. So like for that type of stuff, I get into it because it's just like, no, the story you want to tell, and you're going to be done with it. And that to me, it shows more confidence in your story, rather than trying to drag this out for 13 episodes. Because like Jessica Jones, the first season of Jessica Jones, I think is really strong.
Yes.
But even then, there's like an episode or 2 in there where you're just kind of like, we didn't really need this, but like we're gonna do 13 episodes, I guess, just to do 13 so everyone gets paid. Okay. That's just kind of how excuse me, that's just kind of like where I get with it. I feel like for the Disney Marvel shows, I know it's been a critique, but one of the reasons I like them is because they are around 6 to 8 episodes.
Yep. They're perfect. Yep, they are, Brian. Yeah, they're perfect.
It's kind of like Tinder, like for me, because when it comes to like the Marvel things, like in the Tinder field, y'all don't have to worry about this, and be glad you don't have to deal with dating in this generation. But
I was
like,
you had me. Like I was like, tell me more.
That was my little hook. That was my little hook sentence.
Well done.
But on Tinder, it'll tell you, like, it'll give you, like, you pick your age range, or you pick your distance of what you want to date in. And sometimes you can mark like a box that says, show me, if I run out, show me like 3 years younger or older in the area.
So
like, oh no, like, like for sure. Like there's some
you gotta be real fucking careful with that.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I gotta mark the box. Like if I hit my number, that's my number. I'm not trying to go there's no. So but for some people, they don't have, the younger you are, you don't have to worry about it. I'm not doing that. But you only
Roman is saying you only swipe 6 to 8 times on Tinder.
Here's the thing about me though. I'm a picky Tinder hinge dater. I don't just swipe on anything, because in my reality, I feel like I'm gonna like swipe, and if I gotta meet you in person, I'm not just God damn it.
Mom's only for Marcus.
That is a
Roman, which
that is a fact. If there is a cougar website, I'm on that.
I mean,
I don't care. Yeah. And reaffirm that. My favorite thing is sometimes, I remember slavery and 400 years of slavery, but sometimes when the little old white ladies like to flirt with you, and they like, when they got nothing to lose, and they just be flirting with you just heavily, like I keep in consideration the 400 years of slavery and oppression and like all that other stuff.
They don't really know what year it is. Like, I could go to jail for this. You're like, well, not yet. Hold on. Like, not anymore. But it's okay.
All right. Anyway,
bless your heart.
Way to go, Susan. I'll tear your ass up.
All right, Dolores, calm down. Go have a glass of water.
You better go grab your husband. I'm gonna fucking rock your socks off, Barbara.
Yeah, you be careful. You be real careful.
Yeah.
Can you sort by both on Tinder, or is it either or?
You can do both. So I can have like a distance max of like 100 miles.
I was like, Tinder out here making Marcus make hard choices. Do I want it to be close, or do I want it to be within my age range? I was like, that's an impossible fucking decision.
It's always, I would rather travel as opposed to going too young. Like I can't do it. I'm at a point
that's what I was gonna say. It's like if you're in, like, okay, there's only people this age. I'm stuck.
Because once you're out, the thing about dating in Vermilion is you have to get the little passport thing so that you can travel and move it to Sioux Falls or Sioux City. So you can pay for extra like Tinder Plus, right? And
oh my gosh, I hate
give you a passport. Now, here's the thing
It's
about all these
genius.
dating apps. They are nothing but money gouging like
Yeah.
apps filled with bots, really, if we're being realistic, right? And
Wow.
then you do have people in it that are actually looking for something, whatever it is you may be like. I don't give a fuck about what that is. Like if you want to fling, that's fling on. If you want to date, you want a relationship, that's what that is
Fling
too.
it.
But these apps are like money gouging things of like, well, if you play for Tinder Plus, you can get the passport and see who likes you and do
Yeah.
this, and then it will also show you better looking people. It won't tell you that deliberately, but
Wow.
once you like done it, like ain't no shame in my game. Like I've paid for like the extra because being in Vermilion is like the vicinity is too small. So you
like-
like
Right.
you run out of
It's
people.
like-
You like swipe, no swipe, no swipe. Hey, you're out of people in your area.
Yeah.
And so like
LinkedIn, it's like LinkedIn Premium for horny singles.
You had me.
Do you want to see who looked at you? Do you want to see what kind of job and work they have for you?
I also
Like,
paid
what
for
the fuck?
like platinum LinkedIn.
I
thought
did
that
pay
was
for LinkedIn when I was
I
searching
did.
for a
I
job. And
wanted to see who the fuck was looking at my profile.
I
I
hate that's
have
how I
not.
related to this in like my old state here. Is
Yep.
like Brian, it's like LinkedIn Premium. And I'm like,
It's the
oh,
sa-
I
it's
know
the
what
sa-
that is.
It's the same thing though, right? And it's the same thing
Yeah.
with like Disney Plus and all of these streaming services, right? They keep raising the price on the no commercial
yeah, they
route
do.
because they want you to get the
Yeah,
lower
did you
route
get
with
that
commercials because they
notification?
get ads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
this
No,
is gonna
and
go up to
it's
$18. I was like,
Yes.
what the fuck is it gonna go
yeah.
up to?
But they want
Well-
they want you on the ad tier because they get more dollars off of that. The more that they can put ads and streamers in between your TV shows, like you know what I mean, like
Well,
farmers only.
even social media, like you even see Facebook and Instagram
Yes.
rolling out like ad-free experiences, and like it is calculated misery. Like
Yes.
they want you to be so miserable in whatever, ad-filled tier you're in that you're like, fine, like this is almost unusable. I'll pay $14, but it's like I don't like there's a breaking point here though.
You don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com. I
Oh,
thought
Farmers Only. I remember those ads.
I
Yep.
thought Farmers Only, they used to show the farmersonly.com ad before the games. I thought farmersonly.com was like farmers insurance. And
It's
for some
fucking
reason,
great.
Incredible.
It's my favorite fact about you.
it looked
My
just
favorite
to
one.
show you how I could live in the
Wow.
Midwest for so many years, but still be disconnected on Midwest culture. That just let you know
mean,
where I'm at.
Incredible.
Well, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, when I was in college, there was a strip club near us called the Lumberyard, and I out loud in a meeting with grown men go, "What do we need wood for? Are we building a treehouse?
Yes.
Like, what are we doing?" Brian was in
I was
that room
there.
when
I was
I
in the
asked
room.
that question.
And
Brian
need
knew
wood
me as
for?
a human being
Yeah.
in real life and
Yeah.
watched me go, "Wait a minute. What do we need wood for,
Brian,
fraternity brothers?
Brian,
Hey,
did you
fraternity,
know?
hey, fraternity brothers full of men who do men things. What do we need wood for? What are we building?"
I admire your innocence. Brian, did you know that it was a strip club before that?
I did, and I assumed everybody knew it was like like an adult dance club. I assumed that, and I guess Doug didn't know that. And I felt bad, but also it was really funny.
It's a great memorable moment because the looks that I got from some of like the people who were seniors, they looked at me like I started speaking Portuguese. They were like, "What the fuck happened?"
There was a
Like,
lot happening there.
it was
Now,
Yeah.
if you ask that question, what do we need wood for? There's a completely different response.
Oh, that's yep.
Yeah.
Yup. Everybody was taken off guard. I think
Yeah.
is a really safe way to say that.
And the rest they say is history.
What kind of?
I don't know. Roman wants to know if you watch MILF Manor. Marcus.
I watched the
don't-
recaps on TikTok. That is a wild show. That
I
is a
only know
wild
about
show.
MILF Manor from watching Good Mythical Morning because Rhett McLaughlin,
Yup.
he talks about MILF Manor because he likes
Yep.
reality TV shows. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I can't do it.
Well,
Dating apps, huh?
Well, that was
That
a
was
really
a-
good discussion on episode length for TV shows, everybody.
That turned into dating app. It's so good to be back.
This is great. It's just a free association podcast.
So
That's what it
good.
is.
So good.
What else should we talk about? Brian,
Yes.
I have a lot of Ahsoka questions.
All right, let's get into the Ahsoka.
So I
genuine
want to
review.
start. I want to start here.
All right,
I did not watch Rebels.
that's okay.
I did not.
I did not either.
I did not watch
That's okay.
Rebels.
That's
I did
okay.
not watch the Clone Wars because I watched an episode where there's a diplomatic conversation that went on for 22 minutes and I just wasn't interested. Like it was like,
It was
hey, we have
probably
to
a
make
filler episode.
we need to get Planet A wheat. And I was like, why do the Jedi need to be involved? Like,
Yep.
I don't need to be a part of this.
Yep. Yep.
I will say that I have a lot of. What were your initial thoughts? I mean, Brian, you have been entrenched in the world of Thrawn for quite some time.
That's true.
I believe a few months ago you read like 2 books back to back that were
sure
Thrawn
did.
oriented.
I sure did.
How did it feel when that blue bastard showed up on screen?
Oh,
it was great to see my big bad blue fleet daddy. He was great to see in live action. I loved seeing Lars Mikkelsen do the live action role, and I know that some people were like, he doesn't look anything like Thrawn. And what I really want to say to people like that is like, of course he doesn't. He's not a cartoon. Because like they're real people and real people look like that. And so I knew that was going to come up but the voice is so iconic at this point from the Rebels TV show that I think this was exactly the right way to go with it. And I thought Lars Mikkelsen did a really good job being Thrawn. And are we going to do spoilers for this review? I'm going to assume.
I am fine with spoilers.
I'm fine with spoilers. I started episode 1. And I'm watching Clone Wars off and on.
Oh wow!
But I'm good with whatever.
All right.
I
mean, Thrawn has, I would say, multiple victories in Ahsoka and even in the final episode, and it was just like, yes, like this. The thing that makes Thrawn compelling to me is that he's not one of these like. A lot of Imperials are portrayed as just like these bumbling idiots, which, by the way, a lot of people in fascist governments are. So that's fine with me. But the reason I like Thrawn is because it's like he has seen the Star Wars movies before, and he's like, oh, well, clearly I won't build an exhaust port in my like Death Star. I'll just cover that up. Like he thinks 3 steps ahead. Like he already has seen the Star Wars movies. And so that's what makes him so diabolical to me. Because even in Rebels, one of his things is like the Rebels use starfighters to like really brutal efficiency. We should make a better starfighter. And everyone's like, whoa. Slow down, Thrawn. Slow down. He's like, no, I'm serious. Like, let's just make a better starfighter.
That would cost money, and we're trying to do this in mass. So
basically, the fun thing about that is the books talk about like how Thrawn's like, let's do the TIE Defender program, and everyone else is like, okay, I hear you, but what if we put all those resources into building one big battle station? Hear me out, and it can destroy planets. So there's some fun push and pull there. So it was just
actually think like that in Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean that's
because I guess I'm thinking of all the villains that I go through in my just real quick in my thing, and I don't think of many. Everybody just want to build it big and blow it up.
Build big thing, blow stuff up, and Thrawn at least sees beyond that of like no, let's rule. So I thought he was portrayed really well in the series, and I hope in the next iterations we get to see more of him.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it, having not a ton of context.
Yeah,
I appreciated the level of just the sinister vibe that the actor gave off. Like, he's scary, but he's not scary in the same way like Darth Vader or the Emperor scary. He's not like physically intimidating, but you can tell this fucker has a brain that doesn't quit and is just going to able to just quickly analyze every single scenario to consistently put himself ahead. And it was just incredible. Like I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that.
I mean, Thrawn is basically like, what if Sherlock Holmes was like a World War II Nazi general, and then you put him in space, and then this is what you get. It's just remarkable what they've been able to do with the character.
Yeah.
The only concern I seem to have before I even get to that part of the show or series or whatever, the images I see of Thrawn and the blueness of him don't look the best. And so
The blueness.
the CGI blueness, I don't know how they determine whether they want to go blue makeup or if they go CGI blue, but I feel like here's my comparison. I
All
watched
right.
Loki, right?
Sure.
I have no idea if it was actually CGI blue or if it was just like painted on blue. I don't know.
I'm thinking of an Arrested Development quote in my
Yep.
head, and it's making me
100%.
giggle.
Oh, okay, got it. Loki did this thing that Quantumania couldn't do, right? Loki made He Who Shall Not Be Named, or what is his name?
Kang?
Kang,
Yeah.
Kang, whatever the fuck they called him in the thing. They called him something else.
Yeah.
But they made him feel like a big bad, even though we've
Right.
already seen him. Like if you watch Loki, you're gonna feel every bit
Yes,
of
I would agree.
terrified about what Kang should be that Quantumania couldn't do, even though I saw him in person, right?
Right.
And it kind of made me want to rewatch Quantumania to kind of feel that vibe out. Long way around the merry-go-round to say,
You're good.
As I'm watching Ahsoka and I already kind of see what the big bad looks like, I feel like that kind of takes away, I don't know, from his big badness, like that CGI. Like, how do they determine? Did that bother you in any way? I guess is the question I'm asking. You didn't notice it at all?
It didn't bother me. But I will fully admit I have a very high tolerance for like any of the props or makeup stuff that they do for sci-fi. I have a very high tolerance for it, and stuff that bothers other people like just does not bother me. It's got to be pretty egregious for me to be bothered by it.
Okay. Doug, did you notice anything?
To be honest with you, I was more when he finally shows up, I was so entrenched in the spectacle of him showing up that the prop of it didn't even register with me.
Okay.
Because the moment when he shows up, and I don't want to give anything away, I know we're spoiling, but also I want you to experience it the first time.
Okay.
I was deeply like worried. Like I was like, oh, he has a whole group of people who will do anything for him. Like
who are chanting his name.
He is a cult of personality.
Yeah.
Like he is not just incredibly intelligent. He's not just a brilliant strategist. He is so good at being those things that people will die for him, which I think was incredible. Like it was just that part was so well done.
That's Roman Myers said, and for him being an alien climbing the ranks is a huge feat in the Empire. One of a few higher ups to be not be a human. I have noticed that in Star Wars, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if there's politics to that or what, but I have noticed the human to alien ratio is a little bit off.
So in the Empire, it is on purpose because the Empire is xenophobic, and basically they tokenize the different alien races, and we're non-human races. And basically there are two that rise to prominence in the Empire. One works in the Senate and is essentially left in charge after Palpatine dies. So he takes the fall for the Empire, which is just incredible. And then two is Thrawn. So basically the Empire is like, well, you can't really like be a leader in the Empire unless like, you actually like do good stuff. So Thrawn is just so high performing that literally nobody can ignore him, but he is the exception that proves the rule.
Oh, man.
I did not know.
I have a lot of concerns with that, but okay, all right.
Oh yeah, there's more discussion that could be there, but let's stay focused on Ahsoka. Doug? How did you feel about Sabine's journey, knowing nothing about her from Rebels?
I found Sabine to be a little obnoxious.
Yeah,
I kind of got this. I got this vibe from her of like grow the fuck up already. Like there was a part of me that was like, if finding your friend is so important, like you'd think you'd be more willing to be a little bit more disciplined in how you approach it. But she just seems to like go, especially when she first connects with Ahsoka. There's this sense of like Ahsoka is aware, that there is something beyond the stars. She wants Sabine to join her to try and figure that out, and it feels very much like telling an 8-year-old like, "Hey, like seriously." don't go down the goddamn street because I need to be able to see you. And then you turn around and they go down the street and they break their bike and they're walking back with their bike. And you're just like, you went down the goddamn street, didn't you? Like, it's just,
100%.
it just kind of irked me.
Hmm.
Her arc overall of like the choices she made. I mean, I appreciate what they were trying to do with what Dave Filoni and others were trying to do with that, like Balin, like enticing her to follow him and say, like, look, I mean, that's Star Wars does this thing where it does like it likes to be the temptation of the Jedi, like to use like the religious allegory is like the dark side folks are always trying to tempt you to come and join them for one reason or another, and they will appeal to every single like they're going to appeal to everything that you as a Jedi reject. Do you reject booty? I'm going to make it so I'm going to seem like your wife might die. Like, do you really want to see your friend again and are feeling lonely? I'm going to make it so that way you'll be able to find your friend again and no harm will come to you. Like, they will do whatever they can. So I don't blame her for that choice. That is the evil MO.
Yes.
But I just was like, for a majority of it, I was a little irked. Really kind of I loved like the end, like that, you know, seeing her fight and the level of discipline. I mean, that fight scene with the three of them, that was a phenomenal moment.
But like great.
For the majority of it, I was like, ugh, grow up already.
Well, and I was wondering how that would land for people who are not familiar with Rebels, because Sabine in Rebels, like you get more backstory on her, and she is this Mandalorian that you don't see any other Mandalorians like her. She's super into art. She has had this journey. I'm gonna say, and when you try to compress that into a show like Ahsoka, I'm like, man, I feel like some people are gonna be turned off by Sabine. Immediately, because it just kind of feels like she doesn't care. But there's good reasons for why she doesn't care, but none of them are really like explained really well. They put all the focus on her finding Ezra, which I think is what you needed to do in a show like this for 8 episodes to get everybody involved. But it is actually one of my critiques of the show of like, you can't expect everybody to have watched all of Clone Wars and all of Rebels before watching Ahsoka, which is one of the failings of the show, in my opinion.
The design, like her artistic side and her like that part of it, I didn't question that for a minute. I was like, that's just who she is. Like that didn't bother me. It was just some of the choices and sometimes the way she talked about things. It was like, stop whining already. Like, just yes, you have to train if you're gonna get better at the Force. Like, fuck, like why are you upset about it? Like, I also, to your point, Brian, it feels like Force witches is quite a deep end of the pool. Like, it does feel like hey, you know Sith, right? Like bad guys like Darth Vader, those right? Well, there's a whole sect of them that is just witches, and they're kind of weird. And the whole show is they're kind of like hinge on them right there. And one of them gets a sword, which is pretty sweet. That can't be destroyed. So I
did have a question that maybe I missed in the original. The two old former Jedis at the beginning of Ahsoka. The rules of two of the Sith operates. There are the rules of two, right? But you have to assume that there is a master and a Darth Vader is out there, right? Around this time. Is that correct? How does that work into all of this?
Well, I mean, Darth Vader's gone. Palpatine and Vader are gone at this point.
Oh, they're dead at that point. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. This is like 6 to 7 years after Return of the Jedi.
Okay, got it. And then these two are still operating by the rule of two. Are they Jedi? Are their lightsabers red or are they orange?
Orange the show for sure is one.
The show doesn't really like talk about it a lot, and it's really ambiguous, and I'm okay with it. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion online about like, are we talking about dark Jedi at this point? Because they don't feel like Sith, but they're not Jedi. And they're not like, some people really like this idea of a gray Jedi that is like mastering of both the light and the dark side. But I don't like that idea.
Very much my jam.
I don't think it like fits in Star Wars. Cause like when you're trying to balance the Force, the dark side is always the one that imbalances it.
Mhm.
So it's like you can't be
Can't play both sides.
like right, but I
There are
understand
some
the
on both sides that are.
well, but it's always imbalanced by the dark side. The light side is always trying to
Hey,
balance the
I don't like
force.
that at all.
So,
There are good
oh
people
well,
on
yeah.
both sides.
Good people on
No,
both
There are
sides.
good people on both sides.
Oh,
I
fuck
don't like that
me.
at all.
Nope, don't like that either.
So, but no, like they don't really go into it a whole lot. And
No.
I mean, Ray Stevenson passed away,
He
and
did.
so like
Yeah.
I feel like with the reception this show got, it's like one of the highest watched first episodes of a series ever in Disney Plus history.
Mm.
I'm gonna have to assume they're doing a season 2. I have to at this point they're gonna have to recast that character. There's so much story left to
A season
tell.
2 or a movie, right? Like that's kind of what everybody's sort of talking about. Like, is this setting up a
Yeah.
movie, or is this like
Go
an
season
actual going to
2.
be a full season
I think
2?
Ahsoka is better as is better as a series. That's the way that I'm consuming it. Like,
I mean, and like Ahsoka's journey in this like show is, I think, really good
mhm.
Yeah.
because in the shows you kind of see her as this like peppy teenage sprite character, and then I know some people were like, she's so like reserved and like
Mhm.
she's kind of like distanced herself. And you get to episode 5, which is when she's able to reflect on a lot of her experience, and you find out why she is the way she is. And so I don't really think you could have done that as well in a movie, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
episode 5 was incredible.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that was so good. Like I would say that was, and I would say to kind of our earlier point, what has been the biggest critique of like Marvel Star Wars shows is that towards the tail end it feels like they're rushing and they're wrapping stuff up,
Yes.
and they were like,
Yes.
nope, not this one. This one is going to be essentially a 50-minute
Yep.
flashback
Yep.
exploring why Ahsoka is the way she is. And it's not filler because it explains a lot, and it is so well done. They broke the mold on it to a way in which that I completely appreciate.
I think that's because those live in different houses. I think Marvel, because of the machine that it has built with a connected
Right.
universe, and they kind of set themselves up for what they do, and now this is kind of the fuck up of it. They can't do that the
Yeah.
right way with the MCU at its current state because
Too much to keep
even
track
with
of.
it's too much to keep track of, and they have to put out the next thing immediately. Like they're gonna have their season number 1 episode is gonna be fire. Your episode 4 is gonna be fire because it's midway through. You need to bring people back in,
Right.
and then maybe your 5 is like whatever, like maybe it
Yeah.
is good, maybe it's not bad. Star Wars Obi-Wan good all the way through. I watched that shit
I agree.
every episode. I had no issue.
Yeah.
There was another show right before that, right before Obi-Wan. Oh God, what was the Star Wars show that we were watching?
Andor?
Andor. I never finished Andor, but that's not because I didn't like it. It was just like I didn't have time to finish Andor, so I need to finish it.
That's 12 episodes. That's pushing it.
Okay.
It's pushing it.
Okay. See, that's the thing with the book. I used to be the kid that read the end of the book in Target when I was walking through the book section.
By the way, that's my son Liam, by the way, because I'm reading a book right now and it's a mystery. And he's like, well, who did it? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, well, can you read the last 10 pages? And I'm like, no, I want to know. I want to enjoy the journey, man. He's totally going to be like you, man. He's absolutely going to be like you.
Yeah. Sometimes I just need to skip to I'm such a stupid kid, right? I'll read the last sentence as if that gives me everything. And it was like Deathly Hollow, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And then Harry put his son on the train. And I was like, got it. I know exactly how this shit goes. And I don't know shit.
Doesn't explain fucking anything.
Oh, man. When he died, that probably blew your mind.
I was like, wait, hold on. What the fuck?
That's
oh my God.
I
love that.
Yeah. I loved. I mean, I have some other like questions, like the big statues on the planet. There was like a random bird in like that Ahsoka saw, and there's a whole thing to that has propagated my news feed on Facebook of like, this is the theory of the 3 wise Force people, and it's like, fuck, okay, what's this now?
And this so for me, someone who has watched everything, like I even missed the statues at the end of Ahsoka. And I was like, I think that's what it is, but I'm gonna have to rewatch it because I just wanted to be in the moment, right? Like, I don't,
of course, that's how I am too.
And it's one of the reasons I also pulled back from talking about like Star Wars on TikTok, because like I was watching stuff being like, oh, that'd make a good video, or that'd make a good video, or like
Rush into the content.
just so hyper focused on all these details. I was like, am I like actually enjoying this anymore? So like I've done this thing now where it's like I'm just first time I watch something, I'm just gonna like go down the stream. I'm not gonna like try to grab every rock. I'm just gonna enjoy the moment. And so it wasn't until we finished the episode, I'm like, I'm pretty sure these were like the 3 people that showed up in like a 3-episode arc of the Clone Wars. I'm almost positive. And I hopped on Twitter, X, whatever, and that was exactly the conversation that was happening. So it was like as a Star Wars fan that has watched it all, it's a cool reference. However, it's also just kind of like, yeah, like I don't know how that translates to people who don't know. Like, I don't know how other people felt about that, if they just thought they were ominous statues, or if like they felt like they were missing something. I'd be curious how the audience felt about that. But the bird, I can talk about the bird. The bird is called a Morai, and this thing just has followed Ahsoka around. I'm just gonna just say it like that.
Oh, cool.
Like
That's not concerning.
Right. It has followed Ahsoka around, I'm pretty sure, since the end of the Clone Wars. Definitely since Rebels. I'd have to go back to Clone Wars. My niece Darby, actually, she is like the expert on this. I'm gonna put this out there. Like original trilogy,
The expert?
prequel trilogy.
You don't put that goddamn X down. I'm gonna put my
And I did it immediately too. And so she like, if we did Star Wars majors, my majors are in like fleet tactics, original trilogy, prequel trilogy. Her major would be like Clone Wars and Rebels, like Star Wars animation. So
that's
but
cool.
she told me about the Morai and how this bird has like popped up all over these shows, and it just follows her. It even follows her through like places it shouldn't, or it shouldn't exist. So I don't know what's going on with that. It's a female convor, which is in the chat here. Yeah. So Roman called that out in the chat. It's a convor. It's named Morai. She's a mysterious white bird. That's all I can tell you.
All right.
Not a lot of people know.
Well, I don't know about you all, but I'm excited about what's happening with this
motherfucker.
That had a lot of like Tobias energy from Arrested Development. I love it.
Yeah. I'd be interested. Now you said what your major will be with Star Wars. I would be interested to see what my major would be in Star Wars, because there are definitely components of Star Wars that I am strictly interested in. And
right.
One I feel like they don't talk about enough is the lightsaber portion. Like building your lightsaber, something that we haven't seen. Like, you know, Doug talked about Vader, like building, you know, Vader building his blade and making his kyber crystal bleed. But like, you know, I want to see more of that. Like, how do you make the decision and like getting into the colors of it? Like, we know what the colors mean, but how do you choose? Like, does it, you know, that's kind of stuff that I wanted to look at and into more. That would be my thing.
Mine, what I would love to do is like the rules, right? Like I'm interested in like
really
the religious part of it. Like
that's
Brian, I want to know. I love how the spaceships go pew pew pew, and I love the movies from the 2000s and the 70s. Marcus wants to know about like, tell me the mythology.
Doug's like, tell me
how you make it.
I want to know.
And here comes flippin' Doug being like, hey, what about these rules? There's not enough libraries in Star Wars.
I want to read your Jedi Quran. Can you bring that to me ASAP? It's like
that, but that's what I mean. Like that's what I mean. Like I'm very interested in the like. I mean, these are people who made a fundamental choice.
Yeah.
And it strikes me, especially with Jedi, you've committed to a point, like the discipline side of it, of like, you reject like your family, you reject all your attachments, you reject all of your emotional connections to essentially say, those things are a detriment to my defense of the galaxy.
I get it.
And that is a very tough choice, because when we think about, and now I'm going a whole different rabbit hole. When you think about human beings, and there are not a lot of human Jedi, I recognize that. But if we think about like people,
why is that? That's also interesting.
And sentient beings, if we were to say like I want to cut all emotion out of my life, we would be like, somebody check on him. Like, is he
Right.
gonna be okay? Like,
Right.
that's not. We need bad things to happen to help us to learn. We need good things to help solidify what we have learned. But we have to take moments to celebrate and acknowledge those things. So having an entire, albeit religious allegory sect saying we reject that entirely
Yes.
is
But
fascinating.
that exists though, right? Because being a Jedi has to, they get these ideas of the Jedi from something that, art reflects
Sure.
life and life reflects art. So I imagine being a monk that lives in the
Yeah.
mountains,
Yes.
that makes a decision to cut itself off from the rest of the world, or there are people that live in the world and then go decide to like trek the mountain, live that lifestyle, and then they just disassociate with all of these same kind of things,
Right.
excluding the lightsaber portion of
Sure.
like that kind of stuff. But I do agree with you. That is interesting to look at being a Jedi specifically, and what are the guardrails to being a Jedi, like
Right.
specific. And
Right.
we see the Luke Skywalkers that kind of pivot off of the path, and then we
Right.
see the Darth Vaders that kind of also pivot off of the path. But like, what happens to the person that solely lives that lifestyle, and then what happens to the person that solely decides to go against that lifestyle, not because they fall for the dark side of the Force necessarily, but just like, hey, I want to be a Jedi, but I don't want to abide by all of the like, does that exist?
And
Well,
that
go ahead, Brian.
that is what I think is a strength of the Ahsoka show. Like that, like everything we're
Mhm.
talking about, because Ahsoka brings up multiple times. She's like, "Yeah, I was a Jedi, but like I walked away from that." Like, and
Yeah.
I think the show does a really good job, like kind of tearing into that and being like, "But what does that mean?"
Yeah.
And we get some answers. Doug, I think you were going to say something, but I wanted to
I do
like
have a question after
pull that
too.
out.
Yeah, because what I was gonna say is, it's like, if you take this and you compare it to the only thing in our history as a world that we could compare it to, is this idea of like Catholicism, and then
Sure.
all of the other sects that sort of come off of it. So if I'm a Jedi, if I'm training to be a Jedi, but I like reject it, and I have my like 95 theses of being a Jedi that
Yeah.
acknowledges attachments, am I labeled then, albeit as something bad, or do I
Right.
just not get it? Like, that's like, if I want to nail those to the Jedi temple and say like, I disagree with these 95 things, like, does that then
Fair.
Does
suddenly
that put you on the
make
dark side? Am I going to hell
Right.
now?
Right,
You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
that's my question, and that's the type of
You're
stuff that
asking a different philosophical question.
I
That
want
is
to
so deep.
I want to dig into it,
here.
because
I get it.
I so want to dig into that, because then it's stick with me now.
I'm with you.
I'm here.
But then those who are labeled Sith and against the Jedi
Cannot be all bad.
cannot be entirely ruled out.
Mhm.
They have done terrible things. They've blown up entire planets. They've enslaved groups of people. I'm not trying to say like they're good, or that way we got to forgive
Doug
them.
Wagner, Sith apologist.
Sith apologist. But like, all I'm trying to say is like, as people, they're just acknowledging their own flaws and connections and values. So who's responsible for sending someone down the dark side?
I would say in this, I would say, okay, wait, Brian knows better than me, but this is
No, do your thing. I don't own this. Like, I
would say, well, you're the expert in it. I would say, from this outside perspective, looking into what you just said, I could see how the person that you're talking about that is just connecting with their feelings and could possibly, in this world that exists, not saying it exists in the world of Star Wars, but in this world that exists, where the person would denounce maybe these particular things and then is automatically casted out as somebody who is a sinner, just for the sake of this conversation, right? Or a Sith person or a sinner, right? I could see how maybe the priest or somebody who leads the charge could manipulate said sinners to becoming full Sith. Like
Oh,
you
there you
make the
go.
light
Okay.
decision to say, hey, no, actually, I need this attachment because I love my family or I love my whatever it is that it may be. I disagree with this. So maybe I'm not a Jedi. And in that moment of vulnerability, there are people who will swoop in and then say, well, then you're clearly a Sith. And this is where the benefits of being said sinner or Sith
Got it. That makes
lay.
sense. Yep.
Well,
Yep. So
and
let's
I
undo the whole thing.
And what
That's
I
his vibe.
feel like one of those things too in Star Wars that it tries to make clear is that the Sith are these people that like they're like the anti-Dougs to me because like Doug, you always talk about how you are always looking at yourself. You're looking at
Mm.
like how to make yourself better. What are things that
Sure.
you can do and reflect, and how do you integrate that into yourself?
Yeah.
Like you routinely talk about that even on this podcast, and like with Sith, it's just, you know what? I'm a piece of crap. Period. And like you never move from that mindset. Like even Anakin is just one note of like, well, I gotta save Padme, and I feel awful for what I did, but like I gotta save Padme, and I'm gonna feel awful about it. And I'm just gonna continue on my way, not gonna look at myself.
I'm never gonna stop feeling awful, but I saved Padme. I just feel awful about it all the time now.
Exactly. And it's these people that just totally give into these base desires for greed or power or however you want to phrase it. And these people that that's why they're always imbalancing the force. It's not a consensus. It's not, you're not trying to come to a group. It's just these people that want these things that cannot, or they are not able to change at that point. They can change, but they have to make a choice to, a la Darth Vader, Return of the Jedi, and Ben Skywalker, XYZ. And I think that's one of the things about the Ahsoka show that it does so well is that it talks about like how can you be a good force user if you're not a Jedi, and does that really matter? And there's some flashbacks there that do it so well, and actually you can tell Dave Filoni tried to have this show as like an adult companion piece to people that grew up with the Clone Wars.
Oh, sure.
In like the prime example being like, yeah, I love Ahsoka in the Clone Wars. And then this show's like, so she was a 13-year-old child soldier and you're cool with that?
And you're like, say how old?
And you're like I'm sorry. And there's a flashback. There's a flashback with a teenager Ahsoka. And when you see it and how jarring it is that you just see this child trying to mow down battle droids or console clones that are bleeding out, you're like, so this was bad. Like this was so bad, and I was rooting for it for 7 seasons in the Clone Wars. Like, and it kind of turns that stuff on its head in such a fun way.
And it puts Anakin in a different light too, because he's the one responsible for training her. So he's the responsible for the one that's like, hey, 13-year-old, it's going to be hard for you to kill people, but you're probably going to have to kill people.
But here's the thing. Oh God, this got really deep really fast. But like
the rules. That's what I meant by the rules.
And I get it, right? But here's the problem with systems, right? Whether it's a good system or a bad system, quote unquote, a system is still a system, and you get swept into it regardless of what it is. That's why the system is bigger than the person. Anakin, the norm for Anakin in this system of being a Jedi is, hey, I was young when they came and found me, and I was ready to go get me off this planet. I want to fight. I saw these dudes with 2 swords fighting and kicking ass. Hey, and they moving shit with their hand. To him, train me right now. I'm ready to go. There was a room full of younglings that I don't think we talk about enough in episode 3 of, there's a lot of jokes about it, right? But Anakin walking into the room with younglings and killing younglings who are young Jedi, that's a different conversation, right? Because you don't see the scene happen, but when you actually think about it, when Padme or Obi-Wan goes and looks at the feed and he says, they were like, these were children. He knew he was too far gone. There was no fighting for him to come back.
And if Padme had clued them off, he'd done it before, because he killed all of them. The women,
and
the
then when
children.
He went,
like, again, I say that sort of like tongue-in-cheekly to giggle, but really, he had done it before.
He had done that before. And so the thing with systems is, a good system or a bad system, it is the person that can, it is the manipulators within it that determines what is deemed as good or bad.
Right.
Now, the Yodas,
normalizing.
what is
Right.
normalizing? The Yodas in a system will tell you, being a Jedi, this comes with the territory. Obviously, there are better ways to do it, but we got a Jedi Council to decide what we're going to be a part of and who gets accepted into this thing and who gets sent out to do the work. Hey, what we're doing is on behalf of the galaxy. The Sith could say the same thing of, we're trying to, in our system, this makes the most sense to us, and we are the good. We, the Empire, are the good. And in both realms, somebody's right. And then for everybody else in the middle, somebody is the oppressed.
Well, and that's what makes Thrawn in this so fucking terrifying. Because in the towards the final episodes of this season, he basically straight up says that. Like, he says that to, I can't remember her name, but the Night Sister who gets the sword. But she goes like, you know, he essentially says like, no, you've got it wrong. Like, we're not doing this for ourselves so we can be powerful. We're doing it because the galaxy needs control and needs someone to be able to do this. So it's not for us. It's for the galaxy. Like, it makes that point, and that's Marcus. It's that side of it, and you're like, oh no, now that's why that's scary. Like,
and the people that will follow that is also scary.
And I feel like this interweaves so well with The Last Jedi, and I really hope that I don't need CGI Luke necessarily, but like, I think Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker at some point have to have a more detailed conversation, because in The Last Jedi, Luke, it basically calls out the Jedi, being like, they couldn't do anything. They don't own the light side of the Force. They made decisions that didn't benefit people, and they couldn't even see the Sith taking over the Senate. They weren't great. And I feel like that philosophy, for some things, it's like, y'all weren't ready for this. And I feel like the Ahsoka show could start to tear that apart even more. And talking about systems, Marcus, I mean, like, one of the flashbacks with Anakin was that he was in this system, and he just didn't question it. And he was like, I'm gonna make the best of it, and I'm gonna make jokes. Let's go to war.
Think about it. You know, you've been promised since you join. You've been promised since you're joined up. This one's special. Like, and at some point in time, you start to believe that and say like, well, I can't question it. I'm special. Like, I'm supposed to bring balance to the Force. I'm not allowed to question it. Like, this is who I am. And so I think that there's even more problematic pieces when those type of, like, you're interweaving your identity with the ideology.
Oof.
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. 100%. And also, these magical Jedi came from the sky and saved him.
You're right.
Like, of course he's gonna hold them.
Of course he's gonna listen. But that what makes him so much easier to weaponize. What makes the Force so much easier to weaponize is, like, you have this angsty teenage kid that you keep telling, there's a plan for you, there's a plan for you, there's a plan for you. And I'm basing everything inside of this system that I know, so that when the system fails me, I only have one other route to take, and that is to fall directly into the hands of the other system that will give me quicker results and give me exactly what I'm asking for, even though the result in the end was the same. Padme died. She was going to die on the good side. She was going to die on the bad side. But somehow he now stuck with, well, she's dead. I got nothing else to fight for. This is where all my power is going to rely. I'm just going to stay right here because the Jedi failed me.
I'm literally a shell of a man.
Yeah.
And the person I loved is still dead. Okay. Like,
what did he tell Obi-Wan?
I've got.
He told Obi-Wan, you did not, I am not your failure.
Right.
I killed Anakin Skywalker. I am not your failure. I did that.
That moment is incredible.
I was like,
it is.
Damn.
No, like, that is one thing the Obi-Wan series I feel like did really well. And I feel like it's honestly, I feel like it ties so well into all these flashback moments with Anakin, because you're having to reconcile these moments with Ahsoka that she isn't, like, she's not Anakin, she's beyond it. And who is she? And you get to that point, I feel like, in like the later 3 episodes, you have very stoic Ahsoka, I'd say, for like
after the
first
flashback.
5. And I want to see more of that matured self-acceptance Ahsoka talking about all the stuff that we've talked about, because she's definitely got to have opinions about this stuff, and she still feels she wants to train Sabine, And what does a Force user look like for the light side that doesn't have a Jedi code? And I feel like that's really exciting.
Well, and Brian, that's why I kind of want to know, and maybe you know this, but that's why I'm kind of then also then curious about where does that version of Ahsoka run into Grogu and the Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Because the messaging, she feels a lot more willing and accepting of the choice for Din Djarin to take Grogu away and say like,
Right.
great, it wasn't for you. That's fine.
Yeah.
He's still going to be Force attuned. You do what you got to do.
Yep.
So I'm very curious on like where those things like intersect and where that timeline is. Because I think that's I hope they run into each other again, because there could be such cool dialogue of like
you
don't have to be a Jedi to use this, like, and to make it a part of like your everyday life. There are other ways. Like, I think that it opens up that door gets opened up, and suddenly there are more possibilities of like, yeah, he could be a lightsaber wielding Mandalorian that unites the planet. And there wouldn't be any problem with that because he technically wouldn't be a Jedi.
Is a knight without knight status?
I feel like that is something that Star Wars could do a really awesome job of deconstructing, because like I think it even flows to like this Rey movie that has been announced, that maybe we don't need all these. Yeah, there's a Rey movie that Daisy Ridley's attached, and it's going to take place after the sequel trilogy. They've only announced it; nothing else has happened with it. And I feel like if you did something like that, I feel like for me, the smartest way to go about it is deconstructing all these things that the Jedi put up that ultimately failed them. Maybe you don't need to have a rank of master to be on the council. Maybe the council is everybody. Maybe you don't need to be picked by the magical Jedi to become one. Maybe everybody has access to the Force, which Ahsoka like briefly touches on in like two, 3 lines of dialogue of like, well, you don't need to have like, you don't need to have the Force straight out the gate. You can be a Force user and just learn it. Which,
well, that's what Finn kind of talked about when he was in The Last Jedi, right?
Yeah, like, and they never picked that up in Rise of Skywalker either.
Nope.
And I like that idea of like, no, like everybody has access to it, but like, is it fostered, and how do you get access to it? I think that's a really cool conversation that Ahsoka can start, and at least Rey can continue.
In the terms of our like the definition of what we as a modern society would call a knight, it's to give you, this is my major, everybody. This is what I feel equipped to talk to you about.
Do it.
So many experts in the building.
The the definition of like medieval knights, traces its entire history back to the Middle East, because those would go and learn the languages, and they would learn the stories that were all verbal in the Middle East of knights that would go out on quests for noble purposes,
right?
Honor, love, dignity, their own like sultans and leaders at the time. And so what the European knights did when they went to do the conquests and the crusades, they took all those ideas back, they brought them up to Spain, and that's where our concept of like the knight in terms of a knight in shining armor of European definition tends to be a little bit more rooted in. So I'd say by extension, if we take that and we say like, okay, George Lucas wanted to utilize this idea of a Jedi Knight, a Jedi Knight could be technically anybody then who is called to a higher purpose and using the Force in that type of way.
Right. Yeah.
That's very interesting, and that gets very wonky in another episode of this podcast.
It goes all over the place.
You can have the religious portion, which I hear heavily in what's happening, right? And you can have the night portion. The only thing that throws me off when it comes to these decisions, because anybody can be called to the pulpit. Okay.
Right.
You can have anybody that's good, bad, ugly, nasty, whatever. You can put anybody behind the pulpit. Anybody can wear the collar, right?
Yep.
It's a dangerous concept. When you start adding weapons, right? Weaponizing the word of God is one thing.
Yes.
But when you start adding lightsabers and missions and things that of defending the galaxy, now we in some muddy water that is like, I have several questions on. This is why I want that earlier. Jedi
High Republic.
High Republic
High
movie.
Republic would be
Because
so cool
I
to
think
watch.
that would answer a lot of our questions of
I
like, this
agree.
is where it started, and then we could kind of see like where it funneled out and how it became to where it is now.
I think the fucking Acolyte, the show that they've done, the
that's also
Acolyte, is gonna be so cool. And
they have a chance to do something really unique. With that.
Yes, and also if you think back to what Ben Kenobi said in A New Hope, he described Anakin to Luke. He said, "Your father was a Jedi Knight." Like he describes him with that word. And if we look back on it, it's like, well, of course he was. He was somebody who was called to the higher purpose of defending the galaxy. He was a knight. It's just he fell off the wagon. Like
I kind of want to talk about this, and Brian will be a better person that can answer this. But Roman says, how does a midichlorian count come into the conversation for anyone that can learn how to utilize a force?
Great question.
Here is my immediate response, but I would love to hear from Brian. Here's how I imagine it. I imagine it's like X-Men, right? They say that everybody has the X gene, but some just typically have like more or something else, more pronounced X gene that makes them a mutant. I would imagine that then becomes that. Like, yes, you'll have people who are naturally force users. And if you're talking about a system where there are classes, right, and it can be a little classes, then maybe those people that have natural force abilities are maybe ranked a little bit higher or stronger within the force. And other people just have to work harder to
well, I mean, it's the
like
fundamental.
Muscle, I guess.
It's the fundamental reason why you wouldn't want someone with a high metachlorian count to be able to breed, because they would be more likely to pass on that trait, and you would want to control for that.
Yikes.
Because if the metachlorian count is passed on in the breeding process, you would want to say, well, I don't want just anybody to have it.
And somehow that connects right back to slavery, and what was actually happening was you make these slaves.
I'm upset that that's the point I made.
No, that's not the line that you drew, but that's just the history of like that's just the history of how things work. Like you saw the big sturdy man that you wanted more of. Their philosophy was he's going to be a breeder, and we want more of his kind, and that was their. It's such a. Jesus Christ!
Ooh, it's getting hot. It's getting hot in here again.
No, that's wrong. It's wrong for
it's bad. They shouldn't have done that. It was the history's wrong. No, we couldn't. No, absolutely
not. The one time I won't try to put y'all in an uncomfortable situation.
No,
literally.
Media art is supposed to help reflect our own world to make sense of it, and I feel like that's not a conversation we should shy away from. And I feel like
no, absolutely not.
As far as midichlorians go, there's a reason we don't hear about them after episode 1. So like it was just this idea that Lucas had, and his idea for the sequel trilogy was no joke. Like you would have to shrink down to the level of like microbes and midichlorians, and there would be like a whole conflict there. That was his idea for a sequel trilogy. It's no wonder it didn't get picked up. Just gonna put it there for now. But I mean, like, I feel like the midichlorian stuff, I feel like they're going to distance themselves from it. I feel like it's still going to be this wonky line in episode 1, and then we're going to move on from it. I don't think they'll pick that thread back.
Yeah, because you can't blood test everybody.
He has to be so pissed about Ant-Man Quantumania. That is basically his fucking movie.
Could you imagine?
He has to be sitting there being like, these motherfuckers, like just immediately pissed. Like, this is fighting on a microscopic level. I came up with it first. Like, it is like that is
first. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. He's mad.
What a great conversation.
This was fucking outstanding.
No, this Ahsoka conversation gave me so much joy and so much life, and is just such a great reason why I love this podcast.
Yeah, it's
phenomenal.
That was really good. That was really good, man.
Wow. All right.
Anything else? Anything else that you all want to chat about before we bring this one home?
I watched Loki. Loki was good. First, listen, if you like real quick touch point reviews, I guess genuine reviews. Loki season 2 that premiered on Disney Plus. Really good.
On Friday.
On a Friday, which is what
now they're coming out on Thursdays. I don't feel like they got they're just moving their release schedule around a lot.
Oh, did they?
I think so.
Somebody mentioned my boss is watching The Golden Bachelor, and I
I
can't
am
tell you why
not.
that's an interesting thing. I don't watch The Bachelor, so no, I'm not watching that.
Wow. Loki pulled in 10.9 million views in the first 3 days that it
I'm
was
not surprised.
available, starting on October 5th.
It is Marvel's golden child. Like
Wow.
he can do no wrong on that
Wow.
one.
If you look at the arch of Loki, just it's incredible that he's now at this point that he can carry his own series that is still separate from Jesus Christ, Roman
I want to
Myers.
know why. Not to
Because
derail what you're trying to say, but I want to know why. I want to know why he thinks you'd like it.
because
Is
the
it because
Golden
it's
Bachelor
all
is
older
based,
women?
yes,
Is
it's
that
an
it?
older
Okay.
guy
I
looking,
just gotta okay.
yes,
All right.
yes,
They should
yes,
flip that.
yes.
They'll call it the golden
Yeah.
boy.
They're weekly on Thursdays, but the Golden Bachelor, I believe, is not on Thursdays.
The Golden
In a
Boy.
room full of MILFs, he's the most popular boy at the dance.
The fact that you started off in a room full of boys, and that was just not gonna go great. Anyway,
Nope, it was not. Anyway, keep going. Loki season 2,
Loki
Marcus.
season 2, the philosophy behind Loki. I don't want to spoil it for anybody on this podcast, but
I mean, it's the first episode. I think you're pretty safe.
okay,
I
I'm
watched
explain.
3/4 of it.
I
I'm gonna
haven't watched it, but
explain
I'm not worried about it.
what the first episode just kind of like hinted on. So like Loki is being ripped between two timelines. Spoiler alert.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
He's being ripped between two timelines, the past and the present of where he is
Shifting.
now. So when we left him, he was transported to the past where Morbius didn't know him. And that's where Kang rules and all of this other stuff.
Right.
Loki has to figure out how to get himself settled in the present. So they have a scene where they explain as he's jumping to the past sporadically, he can basically tell Brian in his past life, which could be years and years ago, information that when he jumps back to the present, Brian will then remember even if he didn't know that beforehand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a really cool concept.
Really good philosophy.
I love that
really
idea.
cool style. And the way that they took their time to explain that. I don't know if it's going to be an ongoing thing where Loki's doing this or they'll fix it. It seems like it's going to be an ongoing
I mean, based
thing.
on the trailer, this is not a spoiler to me. I feel like in the trailer they made it pretty clear that he's being ripped.
And they even talk to he even say the phrase like, "Oh, he's time shifting." Like
He's time
time
yeah.
slipping.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Loki, that Loki episode was really, really good. I have been watching listen, this is a plug, and this particular podcast is like independently owned. This particular app is independently owned, so I feel safe promoting it a little bit more. But the Dropout app, okay? The Dropout app, $5 a month. It is the old College Humor app, right? It is the old College Humor creators now have a Dropout app where they have like a bunch of content on it. Listen, best $5 I ever pay a month. I think it's $5. Best $5 I ever pay a month. I have been watching a lot of Dimension 20, which is basically just Dungeons and Dragons, Brennan Lee Mulligan, all of these different like D&D masters or leads, whatever it is. I've been watching so much of that shit that I want to play some Dungeons and Dragons, but it has to be cool like that. Like I don't want to play it with a bunch of people that are just like, you know, like
that sounds like a great thing that we might be able to do for our Patty family.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Because I have several folks who I know who are qualified to DM it enough. Like I know that Patreon and Patty family member Chris Schultens is a dungeon master. Andrew Quist, who's a friend of Brian and I's, also a dungeon master for things.
Love that.
They could make it super fun and super cool.
I would love that. I'm down for it. Whenever we do it, I'm down to dedicate an hour. I know it takes more, give or less, or whatever the case may be. I'm down for it just to do a special episode like that. But Dropout has a lot of other good content on it. I love watching the D&D stuff. And then I just watched Percy Jackson to prepare for the Percy Jackson series that's coming out. And then I also watched The Haunted Mansion, which I think is a good Halloween at home streaming movie if you're looking for something for the family to watch, the newest one. I didn't think I would like it, but I ended up liking it. Also, Rosario Dawson just ages like the finest of Prosecco wine. prosciutto, whatever it is.
Prosciutto? No, not prosciutto.
Prosecco?
Prosecco.
Yes. It's not
Prosecco.
she's not a fine meat wine.
No.
It's a fine sparkling wine. So that would
Fine,
be Prosecco.
sparkling, beautiful. Because she's in Haunted Mansion, and she's in Star Wars, and she was also in Marvel. But then Owen Wilson was also in Haunted Mansion, and he was in Loki. So those two must have like fucking MCU or Disney in a goddamn chokehold with the amount of shit they involved in.
Yeah, for sure. I also wanted to highlight this point, Marcus. You said that you were very interested in learning more about lightsabers.
Oh, yeah.
Just go to Disney.
Go to
They will
Disney.
walk you through the whole fucking thing.
Awesome.
Yep.
I will.
I would gladly plan that vacation for you. Bring this shit.
We're gonna have to do that probably next summer.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Sure. Cool. Well, anything you all would like to plug for this week, Brian?
Hey folks, go check out Color Me Confetti on Etsy, all one word. Go check out that shop. My wife runs that shop. It is for all of your party decoration needs, celebrations, any type. You know what? There's a lot of holiday parties coming up. And you know what? You probably just need one banner. You don't want to buy a whole set of decorations. You can do that at Color Me Confetti on Etsy, all one word.
Color Me Confetti.
I'm very excited that the shop is open. I'm a little sad that we have to start thinking about holiday parties.
You need to start. If you're having a holiday party, you need to start planning it now. That's my opinion. Like, you got to.
Thank God I'm not doing that shit. But if you are doing that shit, check out Color Me Confetti.
Color Me Confetti.
Color Me Confetti.
Start moving those chains with color.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Marcus, what do you got?
Y'all, you know what it is. You want to make sure that you follow the mantra, never offended, always humble, or NOAH, Noah for short. Go ahead, go buy yourself some merch, go buy yourself some gear, go listen to some music, whatever it is you want to do. Just make sure that you are applying the mantra to every area of your life. Follow the mantra, never offended, always humble.
Absolutely.
Also, go stream. It's Monday when you're listening. Well, it's Monday for us when we listening to this. It's Wednesday for you when you get it for the public, unless you're part of the Patreon. A new playlist is out right now. Another Monday playlist, number 6, is out right now as we speak. Curated for you to just hit play, hit the link in my bio, and you'll be able to get another Monday playlist 1 through 4, which is about 8 hours of music. And then we start 6 up, which is just an hour of music every morning, around 20 songs that just get you started when you don't know what you want to listen to, or you just need to play something in the office, moderately safe for work.
That's good. That's a good caveat.
Yeah.
If you really enjoyed our conversation about Jedi, rules, starfighters, lightsabers, the whole 9 yards, recommend this podcast to a friend who you think would also enjoy that. That's the best way to get us some traction. It helps us get to other people. If you're feeling so inclined and you'd like to join us and support us as a Patty family member, head over to patreon.com/filmsinblackandwhite and sign up for one of our tiers there. We got some exciting stuff that's up there, so please check that out. Also, personally, you might notice that if you are in the market for a new piece of running accessory, a hat, a beanie, let me know. I can shoot you a link, Alter Ego Running, and I will get that posted once I get all of the stuff that I need. But if that is, you have any questions about that, let me know, as I would gladly tell you all about it. Gentlemen, we have a 3-step process to success. Marcus or Brian, what is our first step?
Hey folks, we took 2 weeks off, and I followed our first step, which was read a book. When we didn't have podcasts that first Monday, I just sat on the couch. I read a book. It was great. It's called Crescent City. It's a murder mystery, but it's with a bunch of fantasy stuff. There's werewolves. There's demons. There's angels. It's great, and I just enjoyed it. So take a break. Read a book.
Absolutely. The second step, drink some water, y'all. Although it is cooling off and it's important, and you might think like, well, I'm not sweating as much, I don't need as much water. False. It's a great way to help you get through the day. Great way for you as the holiday season approaches. Having more water reduces your need and maybe desire to want to eat more snack foods. It can help you feel fuller,
wow.
so it's a good strategy there. Just drink some water. Your body will take care of you by just doing that. So I'm proud of myself for getting through the holiday stuff, but drink some water.
I definitely thought that was going to be a shot at like Christmas.
Nope.
Or
I
was
did
not.
too. I was
I
waiting for it.
wanted so bad, but you know what?
proud of you.
I'm
Wow.
not here to
I'm
yuck
proud of you.
anyone's yum.
That's
and
call that growth.
that is
Yuck
growth.
anyone's.
Yeah, that's right. Marcus, speaking of yucking someone's yum, step 3, sir.
Listen, don't yuck my yum. I was about to go way left.
I could feel
I was about to go way left. Listen, there are certain things that a man like me likes to do, and I don't like to do it if you don't wash your ass. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm upset that I know what you're talking about. Yep, I got it. I mean, he does. It's true. He does. He's not shy about it. He's not shy
Just the
about it.
I don't get. Just the whole lower half of the body. Just clean it.
I don't get it. Not for me. But hey, if that's your bag, call Marcus up.
Don't call me up. Don't send it out there.
Or find him on Tinder. He's on there. He's on there, y'all.
And
or Hinge.
Plus.
Maybe
I don't know
Tinder
about
Plus.
I don't know what Doug thinks I'm talking about.
I've heard
I don't know if
Bumble's a thing. I don't know what it is, but
Bumble
that is
farmers only.
That he'll be there
farmer,
next.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to be lonely or a farmer to find love on Farmers Only. If they sponsor this,
farmers.
If Farmers Only sponsors this podcast, I'll shit a brick just because of these plugs.
None of us,
gentlemen, that does it for this week's episode. We'll be back again next week for another fantastic episode of Films in Black and White. But in the meantime, and the between time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all next week.
I know that an hour is not enough for D&D. Like, to be honest,
that's okay.
You'll do longer D&D sections than you do having sex, like for sure.